Good morning. This is Anna Amelia from North East Animal Rights, welcoming you to another interview for our Saturday Spotlight series. Today we have Angela Tubb, who is a vegan artist and also the proprietor of Wear Your Voice. Okay, so first of all, I'd like to say hello to Angela and thank you very much for doing this.
Good morning, Anna, and thank you for asking me. I'm quite quite honoured.
And for the occasion, I'm wearing one of your t-shirts as well.
Brilliant stuff. Yeah, not your
mum,
not your
little bit of advertising. So if that's okay, we'll go straight into the questions. Like I said, don't sort of like we have to digress. It's just a conversation more than anything. Okay. So when did you first become vegan? How did it happen? Was it overnight or was it a more gradual process? And what was the hardest part of being vegan for you?
Okay, so I went vegan in 2012. I just hit 40. I've been vegetarian since the age of 18 and thought I was doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And then I did go veggie for the animals, and then it kind of like I made friends with somebody on Facebook who was a vegan. They kept sharing all these vegan posts and stuff, and I thought, oh my god, this is not. And it just kind of, that's it. So it wasn't really gradual. Well, it was gradual in the sense of being vegetarian first, but once I made that connection, it was pretty instant. The hardest part was obviously people around me. There was a bit of resistance. They were like, oh, but catering for vegetarian is easy, because it is. But vegan, they were like, oh, but everybody's come round. It's like, that's just, you know, the hardest thing, obviously, with anything like that, it's just other people and seeing the sense of like that kind of blissful ignorance people have. That's always hard. Seeing people you care about doing things that is fundamentally really cruel, that's the hardest thing. Good people, you see good compassionate people that really do care, but they're putting death in their mouths and then just not making that connection. I think that's always going to be the hardest thing for any vegan, really.
I think that's been fun. That's sort of like been a common thread through the interviews, because everybody I've spoken to has said that the hardest thing is actually the family, the friends, people who they think are decent people and not kind of just getting it, you know. Julie Gillespie, in her interview, she said that when she sort of like when the light bulb went off for her, she was explaining to everyone and she just wanted them to understand, and she just couldn't understand why they didn't get it, you know. So
I know, it's just like, how can you not get it? You know, you wouldn't. Oh my god, you wouldn't think, like, nobody thinks beating a dog is right. Why do they not get it for, you know, or a child? Oh my god. Well, they're saying that, you know, people don't seem to really understand the connection of, you know, people that are different to them. If they're in a different country or different people still don't quite get them as being the same. It's a human thing we've got up that just doesn't, you know. So my dog's making a really funny noise in the background. I don't know what she's doing.
Well, that leads me to the next question, which is, tell me about the animals in your life.
Right, so there's 3 vegan dogs we've got. So we've had Stella, the longest. She's now coming up to 10. She's really funny. She's got a right sense of humour for it. You know, she really does have her own little personality. Then you got Raven in the middle, who's a bit quirky and a little bit stupid, but really sweet. And we've got our little old man Bryn. He's like, we don't really know how old he is. Possibly 13, 14, maybe 15. We've had him for 2 years. His old owners took him to the vet to get put down because couldn't be bothered. The vet goes, there's nothing wrong with him, he's just old, if we can get him rescued, would you be? And they said, yeah, okay. So there's us. We saw him on Facebook, the old rescue we used to work with put him up, and I'm like, yeah, we'll have him. He's been fine. We've had him 2 years and he's a little bit wobbly. I don't think he's got long left, but he's a happy dog now, you know.
So you've got a house full, haven't you?
Yeah, I know. There's a saying, there's always room for one more staff here. We've got 3, and I'm thinking, well, you know, maybe not just yet, because he's a little old man. But, you know, I think 3 is the magic number as far as dogs are concerned.
Well, we've currently got 9. We've got not dogs. We've got we've had cats and things in the past and chickens, but at the moment we've got rabbits and guinea pigs, but we've also taken 3 feral kittens in to foster as well. So we've got 9 and we're like, oh God, it's just chaos, absolute chaos. But it's brilliant. I love it. So going on to your art now. So when did you realise you could express yourself through art, and where do you get your inspiration from?
Right. Well, I've always drawn. That's just who I am. Your inspiration I mean, it's just like anything, you know. People who like writing, they write about what they feel about. You're an artist, you paint about what you care about as well, and it's just a way of expressing. So I mean, the things that really kind of get to me, and I want to kind of, I wouldn't say give a voice to, because I think animals and nature do have a voice. It's just people don't listen to it. So I look at me being more of an interpreter sometimes, you know. You're taking that, and when for example I'm doing a picture of an animal, I really try and feel the personality and try and get that out into the picture. I imagine the playfulness, how they feel, if they're scared, or like, you know, whether they're just, you know, the things they enjoy doing. And yeah, it can be quite emotional sometimes as well. You know, there's, you know, some pictures I do, and like you're literally doing them and you're kind of crying as you do it, because you're kind of imagining this little being that nobody really. So yeah, inspiration, it just comes in funny. It's just, it all comes from who you are, what you care about, and it just comes out like that. And sometimes you could just be sitting there and an image comes into your head, and you think, I've got to get that out. They don't always come out exactly as a plan, but there was one image I did of a t-shirt. It says, "Don't make wildlife a myth." And I had this image of this little fox with fairy wings jumping over a badger that had a little bunny rabbit on it and a hedgehog flying. And I thought, oh my God, that's just crazy. So I did this. It came out exactly as it was in my head. And but it's like how I feel. It's like, please don't make it this myth. Don't make it a myth. Don't make it disappear. Like, we need it. 4% of the land animals on this planet are wild. That's all it is. It you know, it's most of the creatures on this earth are ones that we eat or breed for our own pleasure or ourselves. That's wrong. So it all comes from, you know, it all comes from I'm here. It's like I suppose it's my payment for being alive, and it's like to do something, to leave some sort of ideas around, and if I can plant a seed, then great. But it doesn't, there's not really any, sounds really funny, it's not really like a deep sort of thing. I'm not, when I'm painting, it's not coming from like, oh, I hope this does it. It's like it's just like kind of, it comes from a really authentic place, you know, and it's really hard to say, to put into words.
You kind of touched on a little bit there about how sort of you know, how emotionally involved you're getting the paintings and your drawings and things. So do you find it therapeutic, or does it, if you're working on a particularly sad piece, you know, like Vegan Whistles, for example, does it take its toll on you? And how do you manage your own mental health and well-being? And how have you managed through lockdown as well?
Right, okay, so obviously painting is really emotional, but it is therapeutic because of that, because sometimes just facing how you feel is the best way of dealing with it. Most of us tend to not look at how we feel. We know it's there, push it away, and we try and pretend it's not there. And some people go to alcohol, drugs, eating too much, or anything. There's loads of things we do to suppress our feelings, whereas me, painting and drawing is a way of actually feeling something, you know. The Regan Russell one, it was really hard, because I mean, I didn't know her. The funny thing is, I had loads of mutual friends of her on Facebook. Obviously the animal rights movement's really it's really quite close knit. People do get to know of each other, and I googled loads of videos of her, and I thought, oh my God, she's a really amazing woman. How is it? She's just been wiped out just like that. I mean, she stood up for not just animals but humans. Everything about her was just a really beautiful person. So when I did it, I just wanted to kind of like, there was this whole kind of explosion on the internet. Everybody felt something for her, didn't they? And it was just like, look, just give us, you know, give something back to her, give her a little bit of life somewhere. You know, imagine her how she is now, you know, like an animal guardian somewhere. And you know, people's ideas of when you die are all varied, but I think most people have even if they don't believe in God, they like to think that there's something after life, that they can be carrying on and doing something. So that's just how I wanted to kind of put her, really. Like, you know, she might not be on this planet, but you know, she's one of the guardians that stand there, and when animals come through that have been tortured and killed, she's there to greet them and to love them. And that's how, you know, might sound a bit kooky, but I think sometimes that's how I deal with stuff. You know, like you said about the mental health aspect. I do have mental health issues. I think that is quite, from in today's society, that I think most people do have mental health issues. I think it's impossible, unless you're a psychopath, to go around and not have a mental health issue, because we're all either suppressing things or trying to pretend everything's all right, or we do know the truth, and we know how hard it is to live with that, and we've all got different ways of dealing with it. The truth is really painful. And but my painting does help with that. Other times it's just like, you know, when I'm not drawing, I can get into I can get into a bit of a bad way, you know, stop looking after myself a little bit, and just like, what, you know, and just it's not good. I mean, I see loads of posts on Facebook about mental health and how people feel, and you know, it's no different for me. I go there as well. Just I have got that art thing which does help me. It does give me that. I mean, I would tell anybody, if you can draw or not, if you can't write or anything, just write down your feelings, draw them out. It doesn't matter if it looks nice. It just really helps you. It's a really therapeutic thing, even if it's just get some paint and splash it all out and just like be angry with it. It helps, you know. So that's my little bit of mental health advice. But it runs in my family, and mental, and like I know so many people that do suffer from it, and I think it does seem to affect vegans an awful lot, because we have got quite a lot that we take on, maybe a little bit more than a lot of other people. So yeah,
I think you're right. I think vegans, to be vegan in the first place, you have to have an extra kind of sensitivity, which obviously makes us vulnerable, because you do see some horrendous stuff. So it's really important that we all look after each other, but also recognise that if you need a bit of help, to ask for it. Or to take a step back if you need a rest from it, you know. So I think what you were saying there about drawing and writing and things, it is a really, really good piece of advice. Yeah. So how did you feel about being featured in Vegan Life magazine? It's a magazine which I love. So
it was. I'm like, oh my God, really? You want to put me in a magazine? Like, wow. I was quite, it's a right honour, because there's loads of artists that are really, really worthy, and like 100 times better than me. I just look at them and think, oh my God, I call it an art envy. Like, there's loads of like, oh my God, I can't even list them, but you got Linda Bell and like Naomi Joy and all that. Oh my God, loads of them, and they're just absolutely like, the work is sublime and just makes you happy. And you know, and I look at all them and I'm thinking, oh, they asked me. Well, they've asked them as well, but they've asked me, you know, like, so I was really, it was a right honour, and I've still kept the magazine, and you know, it's my little, you know, I'm not like one of these people. I don't have a big sense of pride or anything like that, and I'm quite sort of like quite humble. I think I don't really like too much attention on myself, but it is sort of it's kind of nice.
But it's a good way. It is good activism though, because I mean, you know, you getting your work out there and getting yourself recognised, and you know, and kind of like your brand and people buying your t-shirts. That's also activism. One of the people. I think I'm trying to think who, somebody who I interviewed recently had said that they went into a cafe and there was those two little old ladies who were sitting there with vegan t-shirts on, and that was them doing their activism, just sort of like out there and proud, you know. They weren't doing anything shouting, they weren't sort of like protesting anything or handing leaflets out, but they were just sitting there with the t-shirts on, and lots of people were obviously walking past reading what they were, you know. So it is a really, really good way of reaching people.
It is. I think like, you know, I did, you know, when I started the business, I thought it would, you know, you know, the t-shirt side, it's a really sort of like, it's a really passive form of activism, although sometimes, you know, the louder the t-shirt, you can get quite a bit of, but it is a really good way of people just doing it without having to think about it too much, walk out the house and just like, I've always thought what you wear is like a billboard of who you are and what you feel, and t-shirts are just like the fantastic way of just saying something, you know, that you want people to know. And they are, I mean, obviously it was in a vegan magazine, so I you know, it probably didn't make it probably just nice pictures and something to read for people, but you know, when you look at like, you know, things like greeting cards and stuff like this, you know, it's nice if like somebody sends a greeting card with a nice image on it, that it might make people think, oh, you know, and you know, when you're reaching out to people that do need to see the message, that's the really that's the bit you really need to sort of.
Well, you know, from obviously the litter picking photographs, I'm wearing a different one every single day. Every time I do it, I'm doing a different one. But just that reason, when people walk past and they get the vegan message, whether they know what you're doing, you know. But it's a good way of doing it. So how do you feel? How do you feel when you see someone wearing one of your pieces of artwork?
Oh, it's pretty cool. I mean, yeah, I mean, at first, I mean, the business is 6 years old now, so you kind of get a bit used to it, which is a bit sad, really. And it sounds a little bit, but yeah, when I first started, there wasn't that many of them around, you know, and the t-shirt thing wasn't a particularly big deal. So when you did see somebody, it was like, oh my god. But the other day, I mean, I live in Barnsley, which is like, it's not really this. I mean, there's a vegan movement here, it's not a very big one. I'm walking around the range, and there was a girl wearing the t-shirt you're wearing. I'm like, oh my god. There's somebody in one of our local shops wearing one of my t-shirts. So that was pretty amazing. It's not so much so when you're like when you're at a vegan fair and you see people, because I mean, I think I pretty much know every single person in this country that goes to vegan fairs now, because I've done so many. So it's not, you know, it is nice, but like, you kind of have a little bit of a competition. Like the good thing about vegan businesses is you don't hate on each other, right? I mean, so I mean, some of the food might, but vegan t-shirt people, they're all really nice and they all get on, right? So you kind of have a little bit of a kind of competition in a way, like, oh, who's wearing one of mine? Who's wearing one of Viva La Vegans? Who's wearing? You're trying to see who's wearing the most t-shirts. So yeah, so it's nice if you see more people of one of yours than like some of the other awesome competition that you got. But yeah, it's nice just to, when I see somebody at a vegan fair wearing one, though, I always kind of hope that they don't just wear it at a vegan fair. I kind of do hope that they do wear it outside. And that's why some of the messages of mine, they're not too in your face vegan. I want people to feel like, oh, I don't want to go out wearing that. It's like, you know, so I want it to be a little bit more sort of like, so I suppose try and put a bit of the art in it and a bit of the kind of compassionate side rather than the
shouty message.
Sometimes you want to be really shouty, but I try and steer away from that, because I don't. All you're going to do is get people's backs up, and what you want is you want to engage people rather than pee them off.
Well, your style's very distinctive, isn't it? Only when you're saying that, obviously there's little competitiveness between the t-shirt traders, because I think your style is very different. Viva La Vegan is very different to what you do.
Yeah,
you know? Not direct.
They're all quite different.
Yeah. So where do you think that the animal rights movement has made its biggest progress in recent years? And what area of animal rights frustrates you at the most currently? Is vivisection or animal agriculture or dairy or?
It's really hard to say, actually. The bit that, I mean, obviously you've got lots of people going plant-based, which is really good. So vegan food is the thing that seems to be exploding. That's got like, it's got a fair share of like pros and cons though. When you look at a lot of the corporates who are making the food and who's making the money out of it, that's a big issue. It's good. I mean, like recently, I mean today, I mean, I love Victoria Beckham. She's been seen wearing fur, but apparently she's gone plant-based now. That's a good thing in the sense that obviously there's a lot of animals that she as herself is going to stop eating, and she start promoting some vegan products for skin and stuff. Think, well, that's good in a sense. Hopefully it will get others to think. Well, it's not so good as like she's probably not going to have the animal rights message behind her, whereas you've got mean, you've got people like Lewis Hamilton, who I didn't have much, I never hear so much time for, but since he's gone vegan, he's become proper all-out animal rights activist. And I'm like, yeah, you go for it. So there is that, there's that celebrity culture has clung onto it a little bit. And that has got good and bad things. Obviously, Miley Cyrus recently went not on vegan again. So as I said, it's like that. I think in a way, my feelings there are kind of like both. So the things that are good for it are also things that are kind of holding it back a little bit. It's big. I don't want to see it become like a fashion accessory, which it has seemed to be. So although there are less people eating meat, there doesn't seem to be less animals dying. There's still, for the amount of people that are going vegan or plant-based, there doesn't seem to be the same level of activists, you know. So say if it used to be 10% of people that are vegan were activists, now it's probably about 0.1, if that makes any sense. You know, it's although I do think sometimes everybody is like a kind of activist, you know, like, so if you see somebody, if you see like a mum of 3 who's a vegan, she can't go out and do any activism because she's too busy looking after 3 kids, but herself is a really good advocate for it, because, you know, she's bringing up 3 kids, and you know, she's a normal person. You know, it's just, you know, she's you know, so it's a really weird thing to define. I mean, I've been thinking about that question. I mean, it is really hard because every single thing, like for example, Facebook is a really good way of like getting the vegan message out there, but then there's also that really negative side of it. And I think basically we've still got a really long way to go. I mean, everybody just needs, everybody, if people have a voice and they want to say something about it, they just need to, and people need just to stop being silent. And that seems to, there's a kind of a bit of a culture of everybody else do it, if that makes sense. You know, like I don't need to because somebody else will do it. That's kind of, and I think that's running through the whole vegan movement as well as everybody else in general. You know, you see the vegan celebrities and you think you don't need to do anything because they're shouting about it, and it's not. You still need people to get them doing it, you know, people protesting. I mean, like you've got like the Cage, for example, they're always outside stadiums and they're doing stuff, they're getting them closed down, and you need things like that. So you do need people to get involved. As far as the aspect that I find the hardest to take, I don't know if it's really hard to just put one. I think the meat industry is the meat and dairy industry, I think, will always be the most horrific. I think while people think it's okay to eat animals, everything else going to follow suit. I mean, I'm really into supporting my local SABs and stuff. I do a lot of like, you know, t-shirts for them and what have you. And it's a really good way of getting people to open up with compassion, to get them, because most people are anti-fox hunting. And it is a good way of getting people to open their eyes about animal cruelty. But saying that, if people that are anti-hunting aren't anti-meat, you know, they will probably still eat meat. But if you've got people to be sort of like, if you've got people to shun meat, eventually they would sort of see that actually hunting's wrong as well. So I think that the main thing is like, you know, concentrate on the vegan message and get people to see all animals as equal. Then everything else should follow suit after that. You're not going to say, oh, it's wrong to eat an animal and then think it's okay to test lipstick on a bunny. You know, it's, you know, but then the
things you were saying there, I was just thinking that you're talking about plant-based and vegan. I kind of think that that vegan is a lifestyle which encompasses everything to do with activism. It's kind of like about advocating for the animals, whereas plant-based is just the diet side of it. And
it is, yeah.
Being activist, I mean, you can do things for the animals. If you're housebound, you can do petitions. You can share food stuff. If you're not, you can go out there. You can email shops and tell them that you don't want it to sell fur, like we have in Newcastle. You can support financially. There's loads of things you can do. It doesn't have to be standing outside of us, you know, an individual, because that's not everybody's cup of tea. Some people
Oh
can't.
God, no, it's not really my cup of tea either. No, so most of the activism I do, I mean, I do some stuff. I don't really talk about it, but most of it is done at home. It's through drawing or, like, you know, writing stuff. There's so much stuff. The armchair activist is not as, you know, they should be higher regarding than what they are, because you need those people to, and again, using Facebook is an amazing, I've seen people slag off all different types of activism, and it's like, at the end of the day, it was somebody on Facebook that made me go vegan. You don't need to do that, but you still do need that. You do need those gobs outside doing stuff as well to cause a bit of a ruckus. You need everybody in all different corners. There's lots of different ways. You know, it's just people need to stop feeling ineffective, because everybody can be effective. It doesn't matter what you do, you know, as long as it's something, you know, like, be open to talk about it, or what have you, you know. I mean, the only, sorry, so with a plant-based thing, you know, yeah, it is completely different. The only thing good about that rising is just the lack of animals, you know, less animals dying, you know. And if humans are fundamentally selfish, and if they see somebody thriving on a plant-based diet, they see somebody's skin glowing and they're looking fit and active and all the rest of it, and if it appeals to somebody's vanity, if it stops them eating meat, then good. But they're not. It's you know, that side does seem to be growing, and it'd be nice to see the more you know, the feelings, you know, as you said, the lifestyle, people taking the whole lifestyle on. It'd be good if that was growing you know, just as fast.
Yeah, we did a virtual outreach. Obviously, we can't do stores and things at the moment, but we did a virtual outreach with our group a few weeks ago called Not Just About Food, and we worked out 11 ways that we abuse animals. You know, whether it's testing on them, exploit them in things like Christmas events, wearing you know, breeding them. So there's loads. So it's not just about the food part of it. It's probably the biggest. It's probably the easiest win. Because you see the direct impact of not killing animals, but obviously there are other ways as well. So I think there's still a lot to do. But you know, like you've said, I mean, we both said there, it's very, very easy to do something. You can do one thing per day. I mean, Peter Egan said what he does is he makes sure he does one good thing for the animals every day. You know, and I think that's very, very achievable goal for a lot of people, whether it's sharing a petition, starting a petition, sharing a post. Not kind of shying away from the conversation. If you have having some food with somebody who's not vegan, I think there's very, very, or wearing a t-shirt, wearing a t-shirt, you know, they're all very, very simple ways of advocating, and achievable for most people. How do you feel about the future of the animal rights movement? Do you feel optimistic about it? Do you feel as if we're making progress, or, you know, sort of the speed of it?
Well, obviously we're making progress. You know, and that's down to everybody who does do something. Doesn't have to be like, you know, which is a good thing. But we do need to. I think we need to make progress a bit more. That's worded really badly. I think we do need to. We're not quite as ahead on the progress as we probably need to be. But then that's always going to be the case, isn't it? You can always. It could always be a little bit more, or, you know, until the world is vegan, when you know, we're behind on our cause, really. I think that's the thing as well. Like, you know, I mean, you know, he says setting little achievements up. You know, there's one of the things that kind of gets me, and it kind of like puts me in two minds, is like, you know, when people go on about like things like meat-free Mondays and like stuff like that. Because some people, you know, you see some people go, oh well, you know, you can't just be, you know, if you clean animals every other day of the week, it's not good. And like, yeah, it's true, but it's like, where do you draw the line of like what's an acceptable thing to tell people to start doing? You know, if you do need to get people to do it gradually, then that is a good thing. So it's like, I think there's a lot of confusion, and with myself as well, obviously. we are making progress. Whether we're driving the progress, I don't know. I think we do need to take a bit more of the driving seat a little bit. How we can do that, I have no idea. It seems to be, the progress seems to be a little bit corporate led at the moment. From my perspective, supermarkets all jumping on it and almost like they're making out it's their idea, and it's taken the emphasis away from the animal rights side of it. Again, it's a food progress rather than an actual real progress, and we just need to get behind it and keep pushing our own, pushing the real truth behind it. And why it's like, it's all well and good, yeah, vegan burger, great, but why is it important to eat that vegan burger over the non-vegan burger? It's not just a case of like, hey, our food tastes just as good. It's like it's getting people to realize that, look, it doesn't really matter if it tastes the same or not. It's the principle behind it that people need to get on board with. And so yeah, there's the excuses for animal abuse are literally, there are none. So it's trying to kind of get that message out there. Look, there really is no excuse for this. You can thrive, you can be happy, healthy, you can do everything you want to do without hurting animals, and that's it's simple as that. And it's just, it just doesn't seem to be getting through. And I think as soon as we can collectively work out how you do that, we're on a winner. But yeah, it's really hard for me to answer that question. I've seen things change in the last 8 years that I've been vegan, and it has been mainly the food, but I'm not so sure about the attitudes, so sorry, it's not a very good answer, is it?
So are you starting to get ready for your Christmas orders and things now then?
Oh yeah, they do. It's October does start getting a bit sort of thingy. We've got Christmas design out, Christmas cards. This year we're supporting our Sheffield Hunt Sabs, so it's we raised a bit of money for them. Trying to work out, they're trying to work out where to spend it, because they're looking at maybe getting a new vehicle, or something like that. I don't know, but there's, lockdown's not easy for things like sabbing, any like the hunt sabs or anything like that. Or I suppose any animal rights, getting out there. You've got the group of 6, which is not good for vehicles either, if you can only have 6 people in a vehicle. So there's lots of, but yeah, get ready for Christmas. My head's always like, it's Christmas this year. I think it's going to be a little bit different, and I'm trying to think of ways of make it a little bit more fun, with like the limits that we got.
Well, thank you very much, Angela. It's been absolutely fascinating talking to you today. It's been really, really interesting.
Yeah, thank you.
Lovely
I'm not really good at being interviewed. I'm just thinking, oh my God, I've been like so many times I've come out with nonsense, but I'll try.
It's been absolutely lovely. Thank you very much. So I'm just going to say goodbye from Anna at North East Animal Rights. This is Angela Tubb from Wear Your Voice. So wishing you successful Christmas trading as well. Okay.
And you have a happy Christmas yourself and everybody else. Thank you very much.